You smash a massive government monopoly into pieces, and boom, power instantly gets cheaper and hyper-efficient, right? Wrong. Absolutely, completely wrong. We all just assume that breaking up utility companies is this magic bullet for perfection. But reality just delivered a massive slap in the face. Let's dive into the hard data in this explainer and see what actually happens. So, does breaking up a monopoly always fix it? Well, India ran an absolutely epic, real-world experiment to find out. They literally fractured 85% of their gigantic state-owned coal network. And, expectations were sky high. Everyone thought this was the golden ticket. But the actual data, it reveals a totally counterintuitive disaster. Get ready for a harsh reality check. After years of unbelievable hype, after endless, flashy promises of corporate efficiency, guess how much fuel they actually saved? 0%. Let me repeat that. Exactly zero. This grand, sweeping reform saved absolutely nothing. No way, right? Actually, it gets even worse. In some of these newly reformed regions, the power plants went backward. I mean, literally backward. They burned more coal, they wasted more energy, they somehow became completely less efficient than they were before the reform even started. Just a complete and total structural failure. Now, you might be thinking, hey, maybe it was just a random bad year. Nope. The researchers totally ruled that out. They used a bulletproof three-step methodology. First, track the reformed regions. Second, compare them to completely untouched ones. And third, verify the whole thing against independent federal plants that local politicians couldn't touch. There were zero loopholes here, just undeniable, hard proof. And the core delusion is totally exposed right here. Merely slapping a shiny new corporate label onto a clunky government plant, it changes absolutely nothing. It doesn't magically upgrade the managers overnight. It sure doesn't improve the quality of the coal. A fake reform is literally just an illusion painted over the exact same old inefficiencies. But wait, hold on a second. Was this whole thing a 100% waste of time? Well, not quite. Deep inside all this depressing data lies a massive plot twist. There's one highly specific, entirely surprising silver lining hidden in the machinery. When you break down the data, you see a sudden, massive drop right in the middle. Machine breakdowns literally plummeted. We are talking about a massive 25% drop in forced outages for the states that jumped into the experiment first. The machines actually stayed online. That is a very real, very huge win. But here is the ultimate irony. Who actually won here? The tiny dinosaur-era power plants. Yep. And why? Simply because local managers finally got the freedom to authorize basic, everyday maintenance. There was no brilliant new corporate strategy. They were just finally allowed to fix their own broken pipes. It's crazy. Which brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If they could successfully fix those old, broken machines, why didn't the entire system transform into this hyper-efficient powerhouse? What actually killed the grand vision? The downward trend in tariffs tells the real story. The politicians, they never actually left. They were quietly pulling the strings in the shadows the whole time. They essentially forced these supposedly independent plants to heavily subsidize farming electricity. The plants were just being used as massive political piggy banks. And the researchers exposed the fatal flaw right here. The restructuring was entirely fake. These power plants never had true financial autonomy. State executive orders were continually forcing them to operate at a massive loss. Think about it. You cannot minimize costs when the government is literally ordering you to bleed cash. The contrast here is just stark. In the US, deregulation meant ruthless private competitors rushed in. Efficiency skyrocketed because, honestly, they had to evolve or die. But in India, fake autonomy, endless state meddling. Without a real brutal threat, there is absolutely zero motivation to save fuel. The crucial point is this, and the hard data proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Without the unforgiving threat of actual, cutthroat market competition, a monopoly in a trench coat is still just a monopoly. Shuffling a bunch of paperwork around does not save a single ounce of coal. So let this be your biggest takeaway from today's explainer. The next time you hear politicians announce a massive corporate restructuring, you have got to ask yourself the hard question. Are they inviting real, ruthless competition, or are they just printing a fresh batch of business cards for the exact same people? Think about that. Until next time, keep questioning the consensus.